So I think I can confidently say at this point that I have no joint pain, no problems with my knees. Right now. Right now. Hi everybody, my name is Matt and this is What Matters to Matt, and today I want to talk about a couple of different things. First of all, I want to give you a little bit of an update on how my run's going. Second of all, I want to talk about knee pain. It occurred to me this morning as I was getting ready for my run. This is a big week for me. I'm the 4th week into my Higdon Intermediate Marathon Training Program. First time I've ever run a marathon, but I want to talk about my knees and the knee pain and how that relates to my past experience with my knees and my past experience with the problems that I have with my knees and how it's going now and how things seem to have changed. First, I want to give you an idea of how my training is going. If you do want to skip ahead right to the knee pain, I'll put some time codes down below. They're also in the description if you want to go there first. But I do want to talk about how my training's going. Now, if you have been watching my videos, you know that I am running my first ever marathon this May. I'm training for it right now. I thought maybe that was a little bit too much when I first decided on which program, but it was the one that excited me the most. It was the one that I thought if I pushed myself hard enough and paid attention to exactly what I needed to do under that program, I would be fine. So that's the program we went with, and it's going really, really well. Last week was a little bit of a taper week, so it felt really good getting a few less kilometers in, few less miles in. This week we've ramped things up again. But one thing, when I woke up this morning and I was getting ready for my run and getting prepared for that cold weather that we have here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, I thought to myself, I was not feeling any pain whatsoever. And that kind of brings me to exactly what I wanted to talk about today when it comes to my knee pain. So the reason why this was such a big topic for me, or something that I thought about a lot over the last little while, was actually before I became a runner, about a year ago today, I decided off a whim that I was going to run a half marathon. I got super pumped over some videos that I had been watching online on YouTube and decided, you know what, I'm going to sign up for a half marathon. I can do it. It was actually the half marathon for the same event that I'm running this year in the full marathon. But what I did at the time was what I normally do, dive right in head first without thinking about things too much. So we're on our way back now. Pretty good pace. Pretty happy with how it's going. A little winded. Again, I think that's probably the cold weather. But anyways, I'll see you when we're done with this run. I've had previous knee problems in the past. I actually remember messaging somebody that I was getting some advice from. They were giving me good advice. I wasn't taking it all. I've got bad knees. I cannot be a runner. And then that actually made me think about what I used to say before I officially started considering myself a runner. This time around, things seem to be different. I'm taking the advice from the proper people, the people that I know have the experience, the people that I know have the knowledge, and I'm also following what I think is a pretty solid program, and things have been going really, really well when it comes to my knees. But I was thinking about what I used to say. How can you run? Isn't that incredibly hard on your knees? I also used to say, look, there's no way I could ever become a runner. That's just too hard on my knees. Ah! Ah! But the reality is, it was only hard on my knees because I didn't take the time to get the proper adaptation, building up some muscle. I'm not a huge guy by any means, but I feel that has really helped and prepared me for this marathon training. But there were just a couple of things that I wanted to go over in this video when it comes to knee pain, maybe a myth or two, and maybe just an idea of things that you can pay attention to, especially if you're a new runner. Also, if you are experienced and you come across this video and you want to give some comments in the comment section down below on suggestions, different things that I might be able to do, I want this to to be a conversation. I'm sharing my whole experience on training for this first ever marathon with folks so that I can share that experience and share that with you. So comment down below if you have any suggestions for me on things that I can do. One of the biggest myths around running, I think, when it comes to training for any sort of running event is that running is somehow going to cause arthritis in the knees. And I think if you look at most of the research over the last number of years, they have debunked that theory. Most research actually points to other things like your genetics, your age, or do you have any previous injuries? These are the things that can actually cause arthritis in the knees. Now, is running perfect for your knees? Obviously not. You have to be careful about what you're doing. You have to build up properly, but it's not the main factors behind arthritis. In fact, most of the research would suggest when they do a poll of runners versus non-runners is that since you are someone who's active, since you are up and doing something about your physical health, that traditionally, on average, runners tend to be a little bit healthier in general, and that can actually have a positive impact on your body overall, including your ability to not develop arthritis anywhere in your body. Now, I do want to say that it's not all roses. One of the things that I did come across when I was doing my research for this video, it came from an article that was trying to make the argument to runners that running actually did not cause arthritis in the knees. And the quote here, and I have to quote this directly because it just struck me kind of funny, but it says, "Think of your body like a car. The more miles you put on it, the more there's a chance to damage it. There's more wear and tear." Now, I know when they were writing that article, when they were making that comment, they were actually trying to reflect on age being a major factor for arthritis. But me, as a runner, thinking about all the miles that I'm going to be putting on in my training, I thought that was a very poor choice of words. Think about the mileage, think about an old car. So it kind of struck me as funny. So it is something that you do have to be aware of, that it is a lot of wear and tear on your joints and your muscles. But as long as you're taking the proper steps to avoid any injury and paying attention to any little niggles that do come up, you should be okay. But I just found that to be kind of a funny reference to put in an article where you're arguing to runners that the increase in mileage that you get from running is not actually going to hurt the knees. And the second thing I want to say is almost as much of a reminder for me as it is for anybody out there watching, but running with an injury can actually make things worse. Now, that sounds super obvious, but you got to hear me out. For me, this is my first ever marathon. So what happens? I sign up for a marathon. There is a date and a time that marathon is run. And the problem is that when you go on the website, they've got that right up there. On a lot of marathon websites, it's just right in front of you. This is when the marathon is, and there's a clock ticking down to when the start time to that actual marathon is. And there's a reason why this is actually a struggle for me. It's that anything that I've done in the past in terms of training, especially over the last few years, I have changed a lot of my habits. My diet has gotten a lot better. I've dropped a bunch of weight. I feel so much healthier than I did, and that is awesome. But most of that stuff happened in a very flexible time frame and very flexible with my goals. With this marathon, there's very specific time frame, specific time that marathon is going to be run, and it's very, very intimidating. And also, as it's my first marathon, without having the experience of knowing where I'm at versus where I need to be come marathon day, I have picked a marathon training plan, and in my mind, I use that as gospel, that I know that it's a good plan, and if I can follow that plan, I am likely to have success on marathon day. So it's very intimidating to think that maybe I need to take a day off, maybe I need to take a rest day, maybe I need to adjust how the plan is working for me. You have to be very careful and mindful that if you are feeling any little niggles, if you've got any problems going on, that you might have to take a rest day. It's okay to deviate from the plan. So if you are liking this video so far, if you want to head over to my channel and take a look at a couple of my other videos, if there's something there that you like, if you think you're going to get value out of my channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button. I know it sounds really, really small, but we just hit 125 subscribers. It means so much to me. So thank you if you are a subscriber. Let's get back to this video. All right. And lastly, the one thing I want to bring up, and keep in mind, I'm coming at this from the angle of somebody who's going through their first ever marathon prep. So if that is you, this is something you might want to think about, is that your running form has a big, huge deal to do with how you're going to feel and whether you're going to develop any sort of injuries, any sort of aches and pains. But it's something you do have to remember, is that running form is so important to try to keep yourself from getting injured. And one of the things that happens to me is that I overanalyze the heck out of everything. And a lot of times when I was going out for runs, I was thinking about so many different things, whether it was what was happening with my gait cycle, what was happening with my feet, whether I was engaging my core, where my head was at, where my shoulders were at, was it relaxed, all these different things that you have to think about when you're running. I really needed to focus on one thing at a time. And how I do that is I set goals for every single run that I have. I focus on a couple of different things. A, what is the goal for that actual run? Is it a fartlek, an easy run, a long run? Is it a tempo run? Whatever it is, what is that goal? That's number one. That's the first thing that I focus on. But the second thing is that I pick something. I pick something that I think I really need to work on with my running form, and I focus on that throughout the run. And there are a couple of reasons why I actually do just one thing, just focus on one thing. What can happen to me, and I suspect what can happen to a lot of new runners when they're training for a marathon or training for really any kind of running event, I end up feeling like a pretzel. So ultimately, when I do get out there and I'm focusing on too many things at once, what actually happens is when I get back, I do like to take notes and I do like to reflect on each one of my runs. And one of the things that will happen is if the run went really well or the run went really poorly compared to my previous runs, if I've tried to change too many things, I cannot determine actually what had the impact on that run for that particular day. But if I only change one thing, I can figure out whether I need to work on that more. But changing one thing at a time makes it so much easier to determine what I need to work on as a runner to get better form so that I can make sure that I'm not having a negative impact on my joints the best I can as a runner. And look, the one final thing I want to say is I get it. I understand if you're a runner, if you're weight training, if you're doing anything physical and you're looking to push yourself and you're looking to gain benefits and you're looking to get better, one of the things that you do have to do is push your body beyond its limits. Push it just beyond its limits because the body won't adapt. You're not going to get better unless you force it into making those changes. Now, what that does mean is there is a little bit of an inherent risk that comes with pushing your body, but you can find ways to mitigate it. Ultimately, if you do like this video, please consider subscribing. Again, it helps me out so much. My name is Matt. This is What Matters to Matt, and I'll say it again. What matters to me most is my family. I will see you in the next one.